Hey, this is Steven Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus Raw from October 12th, 2020. So, we're, of course, at the Thunderdome at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, and apparently we're going to be there quite a ways longer, at least another month into November, and then word on the curb is that it's actually going to go until likely January, which, let's be smart, they should do. When you see how much they're paying for the venue, it's relatively little, considering they don't have to move stuff around, they don't have to haul their cookies anywhere, they don't have to, it just seems like the move, right? So we got the draft going on. I'm not going to list all those people. That's something that you can easily find out about. And the draft is going to be... Now, I haven't watched wrestling in a long, long time. Well, let me say it like this. I have not watched Raw or SmackDown. I was not watching last year when they did the draft. And I traditionally didn't follow the draft anyway, because I thought the concept was what it was, and they weren't going to stick to it anyway. I just didn't get invested. But I've been told that the way they do the draft now, where Stephanie McMahon reads off of a card, is not nearly as exciting as it used to be, and I believe it. However, there is a sort of shortness to it because they just read it and then they show the graphic of the person and then they show the board. For some reason, Raw gets 3 picks each round to SmackDown's 2. I suppose that's because Raw is 3 hours. Is that the rationale? And SmackDown is 2? If so, that makes a weird kind of sense. I don't dislike it. So let's get to the show. Now, we've got the commentators that I like, and we're hyping Orton versus McIntyre at Hell in the Cell. My prediction, I put here in my notes, is that they brawl a lot. Because with the show as disjointed as this one's going to be, with drafts happening and different people who aren't on Raw or that are going to SmackDown and all kinds of bullshit happening, I get that it's going to be sort of a disjointed thing. And the easy booking thing to do, and I think it's smart, is to have Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton brawl it out. Now, people would disagree with this. And again, I'm more talking about sort of general concepts than I am what specifically happens on the show. Because on one level, who gives a fuck, right? And it's the easiest booking thing to do, and it solves a lot of problems. You can't have them not touch each other because these guys have touched each other time after time. Time after, sometimes I picture... Okay, so they're going to brawl. We know this is going to happen. So McIntyre, it's got a mic. Orton says a bunch of stuff. Then they brawl. And then it gets broken up. So I'm sure they'll brawl again later. Aleister Black and Kevin Owens are going to go at it in a no DQ match. What's the difference between a no DQ match and a street fight? There isn't one. So, what's the difference between a rom-com and a comedy? There isn't one. But yet we make the distinction of rom-com versus comedy. That's telling, yeah, marketing ploy. Just like no DQ match versus street fight. We don't want to make it seem pay-per-view worthy for some reason. It's weird, right? All right. So, Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon. And I'll notice... I just put this together that Brandy Rhodes is the chief brand officer for Impact. It's interesting. That is not a wrestling match I would want to see from a technical standpoint. But from a promo standpoint, it would probably be pretty good. Sorry, stray thoughts. So we got Raw selecting Bray Wyatt, which I think is interesting. As long as we get Alexa Bliss in there, I think it's really good. SmackDown keeps Bayley. Good, they need her. Raw picks Randy Orton to stay on the brand. Oh boy. Well, AJ Styles is coming over to Raw, which means we can look forward to some kind of flippy dive turning into the RKO. And they got... Oh, SmackDown's got the Street Profits, which is awesome because then they will switch out with New Day. And New Day is the only reason I would have watched SmackDown besides the Roman Reigns stuff, but I just can't watch that much wrestling. So I'm really glad New Day's there. And boy, by the way, very quietly, has Xavier Woods put together the best sort of I came back from injury comeback ever in the terms of his ring work, which is crisper than it's ever been, and he looks great. I'm going to have to talk about that at some other point because that's an important thing to bring up. And it's one of those things that nobody brings up at me. But when I saw him in the ring, I was, God, look at him fucking move. It's one of the best hot tags that WWE has had in recent memory. Really fucking good. All right. Sorry. You know how I do. Now we got Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black. Boy, this feels very much like Dynamite. This show booked very much like Dynamite. Like we have the big thing happening. They go into a match, and it's a big match. Right? Except they go to commercial in the middle, which fucking Dynamite would never do because they're not stupid. Like Raw is. Long and short of it, Kevin Owens wins this bitch, which tells me Aleister Black is going to SmackDown. They sell the effects. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are back talking. You know, very not so quietly, Raw went from having the best women's roster possibly in history to one of the most also ran. And they did that to them fucking selves. Let me tell you. More draft picks. Raw's got Braun Strowman. Daniel Bryan is on SmackDown. Matt Riddle is going to be on Raw. What? Oh, okay. But fucking the way... my notes are shit. So, Raw's going to have Jeff Hardy. SmackDown's going to have Kevin Owens. Oh, so he got to win and he gets to go to SmackDown. And Matt Riddle's coming to Raw. Okay, I got you. So, new Raw superstars, Miz and John Morrison. Boy. They got Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke as guests. Wow, I could not imagine wanting to see anything more. Natalya and Lana comes. They're fighting. There's going to be a women's battle royal. The winner gets a shot at Asuka. So we show some clippy clips of Kofi and Xavier winning the SmackDown tag titles. Adam Pearce is with both sets of tag champs. They do some kind of weird belt exchange thing. Okay, makes sense to me. Seth Rollins is walking backstage, but he looks like he's ready for a fight because he's all greased up. All right, so Raw picks Retribution. Why would anybody pick Retribution? Wouldn't they just be left undrafted? Why would Raw pick Retribution? SmackDown keeps Lars Sullivan. Good luck with that. Raw keeps Keith Lee. It's probably the move. SmackDown has King Corbin stay. Yeah, and Raw gets Alexa Bliss. Okay, that all makes sense to me. See, people are going to complain about drafts. This one, I got to say, as far as it goes, everything seems to make sense. It's enough fresh names to keep things interesting. They moved wholesale storylines over when they moved them to another brand. Makes sense to me. You get some new people in the mix. Makes sense to me. And now the Fiend can eventually fuck up Drew McIntyre. Oh, yeah. So, Rollins, blah, blah, brawly brawl with Jeff and AJ Styles. That's cool. Turns into a match. That's really cool. I mean, if people are going to complain about that, what the fuck would you complain about? This is your chance to see this really high quality match. And it is. It's a pretty good one. And AJ Styles wins. Elias shows up, hits Cardi with a guitar, so we've got our feud here brewing. And AJ shocked, but he takes the pin on Hardy. So it's good. All makes sense to me. Yeah, this is a setup show. I do want to rant about something though. So if they treat the show after the draft and they call it the season premiere, right? Here's my problem. More important than your season premieres are your season finales. And Raw and SmackDown never really get a season finale. And what I mean by that is they don't get anything that feels as final and cliffhanger-y as a season finale. And they should think about that. I think if they took on the mentality of this is a season finale and next week is the season premiere, which, by the way, having your season finale and season premiere happen within a week of each other is stupid. They should think about a break as well. But I think taking on the mentality of a season finale would help them a lot. As is, this really feels more like a season premiere. I think they should treat the draft as a season premiere because we're setting up things, we're introducing new characters and all that stuff. This is really the season premiere. It just goes to show that Raw has never understood that they take on the lingo of television because that's what they purport themselves to be, but they don't take on the trappings. And I think taking on the trappings would help them a lot. Wow, that's a really insightful thing that only a few people are going to hear. But you heard it here, and that's why you listen. And that's why I love you. So Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose win. Very unsafe shit at the end. That fucking knee to Lana's face obviously clocked the fuck out of her. And if she had been a couple inches over, she would have fucked her up hard. As it is, she fucked her up pretty bad. And that finisher looked like dippity-doo dog shit. And I see Lana has lost yet again. And I put in a weird prediction. I wrote it on the side. She'll win the Battle Royal because it's WWE. And they beat you and they beat you and they beat you and they beat you and they beat you. They rape you and they rape you and they rape you. And then they give you a rose after the last rape. That is their booking style. Brutal. We'll see if I'm right. MVP is back there with the Hurt Business. Retribution isn't there. Well, there goes that. So no Retribution again. And no Raw Underground? Is that just Kaputski? Angel Garza versus Andrade because... yeah, really, God doesn't like us. Angel Garza wins. Vega checks on her guy Andrade in a cool segment, which again feels more like a season premiere than a finale. Fiend shows up with Alexa Bliss. They both give him Sister Abigail's. Bliss is obviously making the best of this and having fun with it. It doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, though it feels like they're going to force it to. But it's a cool visual and it's a cool thing. I'm not berating it. In fact, I enjoyed this Raw much more than other ones I've watched, but mostly because it was new players and I got to see New Day and I'm going to get to see New Day and that's exciting. SmackDown picks Apollo Crews, which is for the best because they fucking, Jesus, they squeezed all the juice out of him. They fucked him over. R-Truth is going to stay with Raw. SmackDown picks Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. So this is their chance, I guess, their last chance to beat the New Day. Nikki Cross is going to come to Raw. I guess that's good. But again, I mean, Raw is a shit women's division, and they're going to have to rebuild it. And clearly that's what they're doing, which is, again, why this is the season premiere. Is it not? Okay. Robert Roode, Dolph Ziggler against New Day. Really good. And again, Xavier Woods, fucking hot tag. One of the best in recent memory. Really fucking good. In fact, I kind of want to write Austin right now and tell him. But I'll try to remember to do that later. It's fucking really good. Ricochet against Cedric Alexander, a cool little match. And boy, these guys are showing that they can work. And I don't mean that in the spot sense. I just mean that in like this little stuff they're doing looks really good and they're really comfortable in the ring together. Almost too comfortable, and I know that sounds crazy, but I think people who do wrestling would know what I mean by that. But not too comfortable, but almost too comfortable. Ricochet does the fucking Eddie Guerrero to fuck over the Hurt Business, and I don't hate it though. It's just so hard to do Eddie Guerrero shit with that, but it looks good and it's a great way out of it. Awesome. Got the Battle Royal coming up with the women's. They announced the Raw Talk guests. And by the way, for once, they're not scrubs. It's New Days and AJ Styles. That's one good thing about the draft is now we'll get better people on Raw Talk. So we got Strowman and Keith Lee for next week's Raw premiere. That's not a premiere. Tonight's the premiere. I'm just saying. I know I'm being stubborn about this, but I want Raw to get better. And that comes down to the writing and booking, honestly. Raw selects Peyton Royce to stay. SmackDown's got Carmella. Boy, SmackDown really is getting fucked, aren't they? Raw picks Titus O'Neil to stay on the brand. Oh, he was there on the brand. We learn things every day, don't we? We got the Battle Royal. Long and short of it, yeah, Nia Jax gets fucked over by her partner somewhat. Then they eliminate Baszler as well, which is a bit of a surprise. At the end of the day, Natalya has a really great, stiff, brutal-looking exchange with Evans. It was really brutal, and it looks really great, and it really took the eye off the ball. So when Lana attacks Natalya from behind, she wins, to the delight of nobody. So Lana versus Asuka. It feels like one of those things that, again, they're doing to do, and it is what it is. But Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton come out brawling, and then they get separated. Okay. So I would imagine that next week they're just going to do promo to promote Hell in the Cell between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, which is good. They should play to their strengths. They both are good promo cutters for this thing. Anyway, this has been Stephen Platinum versus Raw. Lots of good stuff in here. Give it a listen again if you need to. Thanks for listening.